na ako. Siguro most of us, we have a time in our life na mangungapit tayo sa iba, nagwa na iba, or mag-plagiarize tayo. So, ayun.
Grade 8 po ako, nakapag-plagiarize po ako. Kasi kailangan po namin gumawa ng story sa isang subject po. Wala po akong ka-idea kung paano po gumawa ng story. Tapos sabay-sabay po yung mga ginagawa. Sobrang ayoko na po kasi balikan kasi po nakakahiya.
I experienced plagiarism when I was in grade 7 when I forgot to do my homework in English and I was in a rush and I searched through the internet and I found an article that fits in my homework.
Iba't ibang sulatin, isa sa mga instrumento ng tao upang magpahayag, maaaring batay sa katotohanan o gawa-gawa lamang. Ito ay ang ating tinatawag na literatura o panitikan. Paano nga ba nagpabago-bago ang literatura dito sa ating bansa? Ngunit bago tayo dumako riyan, atin munang alamin ang pagkakaiba ng alibata at baybayin. Karamihan sa atin ang pag-aakalay magkaparehas lamang ang dalawang ito, ngunit sa katunayan, magkaiba sila at walang kinalaman sa isa't isa. Unahin muna natin ang alibata. Ang alibata ay hango sa isang Arabic writing system na tinatawag na alifbata. Ito ay likha ni Paul Rodriguez Versosa at inakala lamang niya na ang baybayin ay isang uri ng alifbata. Ang sumunod ay baybayin. Ang baybayin ay ang unang alpabeto ng mga Pilipino bago pa lamang dumating ang mga Kastila. Ito ay isang syllabic writing system na kung saan meron itong pagpapantig at hindi ito katulad ng ating modernong alpabeto. Ito rin ay hango sa salitang baybay na ang ibig sabihin sa ingles ay to spell. Meron din itong 17 karakter na kung saan merong 3 patinig na vowels sa ingles at merong 14 na katinig na consonant naman sa ingles. Kapag naman ginamitan mo ito ng mga kudlit, nagiging 45 karakter ang mga ito. Ngayon naman ay alamin natin kung paano ba gumamit ng mga kudlit. Kapag ang isang letra sa baybayin ay walang kudlit o kahit na anumang nakalagay, ang ibig sabihin lamang nito ay meron siyang kasunod na patinig na A o vowel A sa Ingles. Kapag ang letrang ba ay nilagyan mo ng kudlit sa itaas, ang ibig sabihin nito ay B or B. Ngayon naman, kapag inilagay mo sa ilalim ang kudlit, magiging bo o bu naman ito. Ngayon, kapag ikay nakakita ng X sa baba ng letra, ang ibig sabihin nito ay nag-iisa lamang siya at wala siyang kasunod na patinig. Ngayon, sana'y nalinawan kayo sa pagkakaiba ng alibata at baybayin at sana'y nalinawan din kayo na ang alibata ay walang kinalaman sa baybayin at ang baybayin ay walang kinalaman sa alibata. Ngayon naman ay dumako na tayo sa kung paano nagpabago-bago ang literatura o panitikan sa ating bansa.
Literature was principally oral in as much as writing was not yet invented, and more of the works were concise, poetic. During prehistoric period, we introduced the bugtong or the English is riddles, salawikain or proverbs, kasabihan or saying, kantahing bayan or folk song, oyayi or lullaby, soliranin or boat song, kumintang or war song, Diona or wedding song, dalit or religious song, kundiman or love song, dipayanin or drinking song, hibais or travel song, bungao or funeral song, bansal or courting song. With the passage of time, oral literature becomes lengthy and these long forms was the epic such as Biyag ni Lamang, Alim and Hudhud, Kumintang, Ibalon, Maragtas and Hinilawod, Hari sa Bukid, Dagoy and Sitsud, Bantugan, Indarapatra and Sulaiman, and Tatuang. During prehistoric period, we also introduced the prose and works, such as the alamat, or in the English is legends, myth or mito, kwentong bayan or folktales, pabula or fables, parabola or parables. The oral works are able to translate in written work through the use of syllabary called alibata. The mission of Spanish friars is to spread the Christianity. Doctrina Christiana, Catholic Book of Prayers and Doctrines. Francisco Baltazar, ama ng Balagtasan, wrote the immortal allegorical work entitled Florante at Laura. Awit is composed of dodecasyllabic monorhyming quatrains and opposed to corrido, which is octasyllabic monorhyming quatrains. Crisostomo Soto, the father of Pampango literature. Pedro Bocanig, father of Ilocano literature. Father Modesto de Castro wrote Urbana and Felisa, Book of Etiquette. More productive part of the period, the propagandist race led by Dr. Jose Rizal Batlle for assimilation got Andres Bonifacio, the head of the revolutionists and the Supremo of Katipunan, La Solidaridad, El Filibusterismo, and No Limitangere. During Spanish period, we also introduced the pseudonyms. For Rizal, Dimas Alang and Laong Laan. For Del Pilar is Claridel. For Jaina is Diego Laura. For Jose Maria Panganiban, Humapa. American defeated Spaniards in Spanish-American War, which resulted in Treaty of Paris. Introduced the public school system in the Philippines and English language. Thomasites, first English teachers. The Filipino learned language and used it in their writings. Freedom of expression, freedom of press. List of periods of the Philippines literature in English. Period of orientation, 1900s to 1910. Period of apprenticeship, 1910 to 1920. Period of experimentation, 1920 to 1940. Period of discontent, 1941 to 1944. Post-war period, 1945 to 1950. Modern period, 1951 to 1971. Martial law era, 1971 to 1986. Contemporary period, 1986 to present. Similarities and difference of periods of the Philippine literature. Period of reorientation, 1898 to 1910. Period of imitation, 1910 to 1925. Period of self-discovery, 1925 to 1941. Post-war reorientation, 1945. The Rebirth of Freedom, 1946 to 1970. Period of Activism, 1970 to 1972. Period of New Society, 1972 to 1981. Period of the Third Republic, 1981 to 1985. Contemporary period, 1986 to present. Writer guides or organization is P stands for poets, E for essayist, N for novelist.
In Japanese era, the literary development was interrupted and English was prohibited. The best short story writer of this period was N.P.M. Gonzalez with his piece Lunsod, Nayon at Dagat-Dagatan. Forms such as haiku and tanaga were introduced. Hook and guerrilla stories were produced in the forms of songs and plays. A play on humor, Sapula Sapoti by Francisco Soc Rodrigo, showing one of the Filipino men's pastimes, which is cockfighting or sabong. In the Third Republic after World War II, comics were slowly introduced and Tagalog romances in series were published. The Filipinos were continuously influenced by the Americans. Others even opted to study in the United States and England. Some of them were Edelberto and Edic Tiempo, Francisco Arceliana, Ricaredo de Metilio, Amador Daggio, Carlos Angeles, and V.M. Gonzalez and Bienvenido Santos. During the martial law period, many writers preferred to write trivial matters for them not to be killed. The themes of most poems dealt with patience, regard for native culture, customs, and the beauty of nature and surroundings. Most stories talk about the killings of the students activists like Jose de Lisay Jr., Jose F. Lacaba, the story of Edgar Hobson by Benjamin Pimentel Jr., The Back Rising edited by Ferdinand C. Llanes, Subversive Lives, a family memoir during the Marcos years by Susan F. Quimpo. In the Fourth Republic, the dismantling of martial law and its repressive measures has made the writers feel free again to write on all sorts of topics according to their mood and mold. Poems were romantic and revolutionary. Writers wrote openly against their criticism in the government. Filipino songs dealt with themes that were true to life like those of grief, poverty, aspiration for freedom, love of God, of country, and of fellow men. The 21st century period is also the period of technological migrants, Generation Z and the Millennials, oral, printed, and technological transmissions of literatures. Examples are textula, graphic novel, prose, novel serialized in blogs, hypertextual poem, ebook, flash fiction, urban legend, checklit, speculative fiction, and creative nonfiction, and also Wattpad. Readers become part of text as they could suggest to change the plot or the characters.
Good day everyone! So now that we already tackled about the evolution and the history of literature, we see on how did it started and how it evolves through the years, right? So what can you say about it?
Yeah, I'm just so amazed because before we just have the what we so-called alibata and baybayin, and now we see on how did they give value on our literature. And by the use of technology, we have the what we so-called Wattpad. Wattpad is an application that you can install in your phones, and it has a variety of stories with different genres. And by the use of Wattpad, you can just read stories anytime and anywhere.
And not only in Wattpad, kasi kahit sa Google, pwede kang mag-search at pwede kang mag-publish ng any story na gusto mo, di ba? So, makikita talaga natin kung paano pinahalagahan yung literatures. So, by the use of this technology, most of the students, I'm not saying in general ha, most of the students are most likely to search this story to find some article or the story on the Google and plagiarize it or copy-paste it on their work. So
we encountered a lot of students who plagiarized their work that is related on literature, and some of them are being interviewed by our team.
Opo, nung grade 8 po ako, nakapag-plagiarize po ako. Kasi kailangan po namin gumawa ng story sa isang subject po. Wala po akong ka-idea kung paano po gumawa ng story. Tapos sabay-sabay po yung mga ginagawa. Sobrang ayoko na po kasi balikan kasi po nakakahiya po. Bali, sa Wattpad po ako kumuha kasi uso po yung Wattpad dati hanggang ngayon po, pero hindi po siya ganun kasikat pa po dati. Tapos ang ginawa ko po, yung mga hindi po sikat na story pero maganda, kumuha po ako ng idea doon, o kaya tapos pinag-compile ko po yung mga yon, pinag-connect ko po para po makapagpasa po ako ng gawain po dun sa subject na yon. Sobrang nakakahiya po. Hindi na po ako nagpe-plagiarize ngayon. Natuto na po kasi ako. Tapos, ang dami ko pa pong nalaman about dun na mali po pala yun. Natutunan ko po na yung plagiarism po pala, ano po pala yun, crime. Saka, kinaiya ko po talaga yung nag-plagiarize po ako kasi po, ang taas po ng grade na nakuha ko po dun sa work po na yun. Tapos hindi ko naman po siya pinaghirapan. Sobrang nakakahiya po talaga. Pinagsisisihan ko po yun. Kasi po ayoko na pong balikan yung memory na yun sa buhay ko. Sobrang nakakahiya, saka pinagsisisihan ko po talaga. Sobrang hindi ko na po talaga siya uulitin. As in po. Gusto ko lang din po mag-sorry dun po sa sa nagawa kong pag-plagiarize po sa work po nung authors po na yun. Ayun po.
Yes, nag-plagiarize na ako. Siguro most of us, we have a time in our life na makakapit tayo sa iba, magawa ng iba, or mag-plagiarize tayo. So, ayun. Pag August or September, so, ayan, start na ng mga events, activities sa school. So, syempre, maraming ganap, maraming ginagawa. Required din kayo sumali sa mga activities, sa mga extracurricular, sa mga events, ganun. So, syempre, parang kada month, iba-iba yung sinaselebrate na subject, iba-iba rin yung mga activities. So, may mga teachers talaga na nire-required na sumali kayo sa mga ganun, sa mga events. So, ayan, sumali kami. And kami yung naging representative ng section namin. Syempre, ayun, naging busy kami. Pagpa-practice, magawa ng props. Kasi, 1 week lang. Or 1 week and a half lang yung binibigay na time sa amin para mag-prepare. So, ayun, medyo mahirap kasi sa umaga pa-practice. Tapos, pag-uwi, gagawin yung ibang subjects, mga assignments. So, ayun. May isang subject kami noon na late na namin nalaman. Late na rin nasabi sa amin na may gagawin pala and kailangan na ipasa. Siguro 2 days or 1 day. Ganon. So, ayun, nung late na namin nalaman, syempre, ayun, kulang na nga sa oras. Doon ko na ginawa yung plagiarism. Ngayon hindi na. I don't plagiarize anymore because I learned from it na. So, ang natutunan ko sa plagiarism is masama siya. Plagiarism is unethical and will never be right. syempre, ayaw rin natin kinokopya or ginagaya yung work natin. Kung ako nga nagagalit kapag or naiinis kapag may kumokopya sa akin, ganon. So, syempre, we should have respect to the author. Plagiarism is masama siya. Plagiarism is unethical and will never be right. Syempre, ayaw rin natin kinokopya or ginagaya yung work natin. Kung ako nga nagagalit kapag or naiinis kapag may kumokopya sa akin, ganon. So, syempre, we should have respect to the author sa mga gumagawa ng work nila. And you'll face consequences kasi kung nag-graduate ka, pwede ka matanggalan ng degree. Syempre, magre-reflect din sa academic record mo. Baka mahirapan ka kumuha or tanggapin ng mga school na pag-a-applyan mo kasi nga nag-plagiarize ka. So, at syempre baka mahirapan din yung friends mo na magtiwala sa'yo kasi nga nag-plagiarize ka. And doon mo kasi makikita kung may natutunan ka ba or wala eh. Kasi kung nag-plagiarize ka lang, hindi wala kang tutunan, walang learning. So, anong sense ng paggawa mo ng isang bagay kung hindi mo rin naman natutunan? So, ayun. Pwede ka rin parang makulong sa pag-plagiarize. So, wag na wag mong gagawin. At maling-mali ang plagiarize.
I experienced plagiarism when I was in grade 7 when I forgot to do my homework in English and I was in a rush and I searched through the internet and I found an article that fits in my homework. I am not plagiarizing anyone's work anymore because when I found out that you can be in prison if you still do plagiarism. I learned in plagiarism that you shouldn't steal anyone's work because it is a crime and it feels like you're stealing someone's knowledge.
So now that we've heard the answers of our interviewees, we can say that plagiarism is not a good act and it will never be. It cannot also benefit us in the near future. So if we think that literature is hard, then it is not the reason to steal other people's ideas and claim it as our own works.
So in order for us to make our own work, to make our own stories, we should be creative by ourselves. We should use our own experience and we should use our own imagination. Be creative and be yourself. And that's how you can write a good work.
Sa bawat letra, maaari kang makabuo ng mga salita. Sa pamamagitan nito, maaari mong malinang ang iyong sariling kakayahan. Ilang taon na ang nagdaan, ilang dayuhan na rin ang nanakop sa ating bayan. Maraming buhay na rin ang nawala para sa kalayaan na matagal na nating tinatamasa. Ngunit ang mga likha at gatha ng ating mga ninunoy patuloy na nakatatak sa ating kasaysayan. Ngunit sa panahon ngayon, nang dahil sa pag-usbong ng teknolohiya, ang literatura o panitikan ay unti-unti na ring ipinagsasawalang bahala, lalo na ng mga kabataan. Karamihan sa mga ito ay nababaling na ang atensyon sa mga gadgets o online games na kanilang kinagigiliwan. Bibihira ka na lamang makakita ng mga batang may hawak ng libro o nagbabasa. Kung kaya't kapag nagkaroon ito ng takdang aralin patungkol sa paggawa ng sariling sulatin, ay madalas kumukuha na lamang sa iba't ibang website o social media at iyon ay ipinapasa sa kanilang guro kahit na hindi nila ito sariling gawa. Ang mga ganitong gawain ay hindi na dapat natin pairalin. Huwag na natin itatak sa ating isipan na ang mga ganitong bagay ay maliit lamang.